Hello, YouTube. What's going on? JCB on the Hot Take channel. It's been a hot minute since I did any sort of content, actually. Um, any streams or any reviews or anything like that. So, thought I'd just jump on. Well, there's a bit of a backstory to this stream, which I'll get into in a sec. So, if you're maybe some punters might come in and join us. You're welcome to jump on. I've put the link, the StreamYard link, in the chat there, so feel free to jump on. But you're most likely going to be watching this in the future, so I'll try and sort of keep this pretty tight and sort of viewer friendly. Hey, there's Flippin. How are you, buddy? Good to see you, my man. So the backstory. Well, where have I been? I've been actually super busy, just life, building this new house, moving in, working, raising the three kids. So life has just been mental. And instead of, during COVID and lockdown, I think all of us in the community were, we were going crazy in our little houses and we were sort of jumping on into the watch community as a bit of an escape from reality, I guess. So that was certainly my experience anyway. So, I got stuck right into it for a couple of years there, 2020, bit of 21. Hey, Mark P, good to see you, my man. So I think, I was doing live streams like every week and all that sort of stuff and really getting into the watch scene. So I just sort of towards the end of last year, I just got a bit of burnout, I think. Yeah, the posh office. Yeah, it's still bloody boxes everywhere, mate. I've got to. You don't see all the crap behind me. Um, and I think, yeah, I just had a bit of watch burnout, and plus I sort of, I picked up the Batgirl, and I've been spending a bit of time with this guy, and getting to wear the watch over the last few months, and so I wanted to give you my hot take on the watch. We'll do that a bit later. So I've actually just been enjoying my watches and, stepping away from YouTube and the watch community and all that sort of stuff and just enjoying my pieces and living my life and just keeping busy that way. So what happened was, so the backstory to this stream is that I was here last week, right in this spot in this at the same time last Saturday, and I was just sort of checking emails and all that sort of stuff. Um, hey, Will Rizzo, how are you, my man? Good to see you, buddy. Um, so this was last Saturday, and I was checking out YouTube, and I got a notification for this channel. It's called the Escapement Show, which one of my friends sort of set up with his mates a couple of weeks, like maybe a month or so ago. It was just a really new channel. They hadn't been doing much content. It's just a lot of streaming and just the usual banter. And so I just was typing away last week, just commenting, and they chucked the link out. And they were like, "Oh, JCB, join us on the chat." So I was like, "Yeah, sure. Not doing anything. Why not?" So I did that, and it was actually really good. It was good just to get into the banter again, talk watches, and just hang out and sort of, dip my feet back into the YouTube waters, so to speak. So that was cool. It was good fun. Um, and so they actually invited. So after that, they were like, "JCB, you are the man. We want you to come back next week. We're going to be doing this 3-watch challenge. So 3 watches for £20,000. Okay, that was the challenge. But here's the kicker: was that it's no Omega or Rolex. So yeah, three watches, 20K pound, no Omega, no Rolex. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm up for the challenge. Right? And if you guys, one thing about me, you guys might not know is that sort of when I do something, I don't fuck around. I do it properly. Okay, like I'll do it properly, right? So I was I was thinking about these 3 watches, and I was like, um, Yeah, Mark P. So this is I'll get to that. I'll get to that one, man. What the channel was. I was sort of telling. I'll tell you the story. It's an interesting story. So I was thinking about the watches and I was like, oh fuck, I really want to like when you haven't been thinking about watches and then all of a sudden you get given a challenge and you're like, all right, I'm up for it, right? So I did it, and the watches I came up with. I thought they were freaking awesome. I was really happy. I was really proud of these watches. I even did an I. Hey Phil, how you going, man? I even did like an ID guy style, picture with the watches and all this sort of stuff, which I'll bring up in a sec. And so I was really happy with my selection. I thought, fuck, man, JCB, you've done it again. And one overseas and two victors. Yeah. Well, you could do that. Well, I want you guys to have it while I'm talking shit. I want you guys to have a actually a proper think about it, and if you can be bothered, maybe put your picks down. And so get this. So I'd done all this, and then during the week, um, the my friend I know I was actually sort of looking for the link or looking for the channel. I was just wanted to see some of the content that they put out, and like there's no channel, like it's gone. Like the channel has been deleted, like it's gone from YouTube. And so, Mark, it was called the Escapement Show, the Escapement Show, and so it was yeah, I'd say it's only been up for like 2 or 3 weeks or something. So they only had about 4 or 5 videos or something, right? So it was a bunch of dudes who you guys probably some of you guys will know the channel. You probably watched it or whatever. And you probably know the dudes that were behind it. Anyway, so man, I felt robbed. I was like, man, I've done this 3 watch challenge thing, and I've got some good picks, and then there's no show to talk about it. So I thought, well, hey, I've got my own fucking channel, so why don't I just talk about it there? So that's sort of like the backstory. I was like, I just wanted to get these pieces out there because some of I think they're pretty cool. They're pieces that they're sort of left of field, and they're ones that you haven't really thought of before. And what happened for me was that I hadn't really thought about them, but when I tried them on, when I actually put them on, I was like, "Fuck, these are sick, man. These watches are really cool." It's one of those things where when you're trying on watches, those ones that just jump out at you, like the ones that you'd never really thought about. Like you haven't really given them a second thought. Like you might go into the dealer to try on like an Amiga or something, and then while you're there, you're just like, "Oh, hey, give me a look, give me a look at that," and then you put it on, and you're like, "Whoa, this is pretty cool." So um, that's the backstory, and plus, as I said, I've been wearing the Batgirl quite a lot. I thought I'd give you my thoughts on that, which we'll get to. So that'll be sort of like part two, I guess, of this stream. Um, so that's that. Let's have a look. I'll just once again, I'll just copy the link if anyone can be bothered, or if you want to jump on just to have some banter, please feel free. We're all friends here. All right, share screen. What do I do? Share screen. Here we go. Share screen one. Let's go. So, oh, I'm gonna put that up. All right, here we go. This is the 3 that I came up with. Okay, so the have a look at that price, 20K challenge, scraped it in by 20 squid. What do you reckon, Mark P? 20 squid. What'll that get you? So you got 3 watches and a pint. Okay. All right. So let's just have a look at these, right? And I thought we'd put them on one page because it works well when you put these things together on one page. So what do we got here? Let's talk about it. We got a diver, we got a chrono, and a GMT. All right. So diversity in the watches, diversity in the colors. Have a look at that. You got a blue dial, you got a panda, and you got a black dial, the black gilt dial. Got to leave. Man, hurry up and get back. You should have set yourself up, man. What are you doing? What are you doing, Flip? All right. So let's go with the glass shooter original. This is the CQ panorama date, 43 mil in blue. We have the hey geezer. we've got the Zenith El Primero A384 Revival, and we have the Longines Zulu Time GMT. So, why these? Well, firstly, to those guys who are joining, we've got this is a 20K pound challenge. 3 watches, no Rolex or Omega. All right, no Rolex or Omega. So just like that, just automatically, like when you're putting together a 3 watch collection, probably it's mostly going to be Rolex and Omega. So this is why this is a cool challenge. But I wanted to give you some pieces here that are a bit out of the way, a bit sort of out of the ordinary. Um, a bit left of field. That's sort of how I roll generally, with the exception of the Batgirl. I think like most of my pieces are a bit left of field. And so no worries, Mark. Um, so this is the deal. So yeah, the Glashütte are just a cool watch, really well done, quality piece. The price, obviously, it's the most expensive, so it's there's a bit of it's a bit pricey, but it's the quality's there when you put it on. You can sort of feel and see the quality, the way it's done. The applied numerals are really nice and shiny and pop off the dial. The blue dial is really cool. So a nice watch for your diver. Then you get into the Zenith. Now I think the Zenith is a cool watch. This was one that I never thought of. Like seeing pictures of it. I never thought that I would like the watch just based on what it looks like. But when you get it on your wrist, it's a whole different. The whole ball game changes. It's such a cool watch on the wrist. The case, it's really sort of ergonomic, and the case shape, just that tonneau case works really well. It's just a great design and a great piece to wear. Now I've kept it on the strap here. You might be thinking, why didn't I go for the Gay Frere um, ladder bracelet? So I think I've kept this one on the leather strap because of the obvious gap here in the collection, which is a dress watch, right? But I have sort of 2 things to say about that. One, who really wears dress watches? Dress watches. Like think about a Calatrava looking piece. Like who really wear those these days, right? Even with a suit these days, you could easily wear any of these watches with a suit, I think. And they really, no one's wearing suits these days anyway. Like in my office, I'm a lawyer, or an attorney. When I go into work, I don't wear a suit anymore. We just wear business casual. So each of these watches sort of just work, I think, these days. And actually, the Zenith itself, this is the second thing. The Zenith on the strap, I think, can get away. Yeah, yeah. I think with the Zenith actually works on a strap. I think as a dress watch, you can get away with it. It's sort of the red second hand is a little bit loud, but that's the only thing. Like when you see the watch, because of the size, it's not a big watch. It's sort of a dainty sort of sized watch, if that's even a word. It's sort of svelte on the wrist. It's sort of, you can pull that can work as your dress watch, I reckon. And then the Zulu Time, there, the GMT. That's a cracking little piece. That one. Um, I saw it just in the display. I didn't put it on my wrist, but that one in the display, when you look at it, really well finished. Um, the the polishing and the brush finishes, the bezel. Um, it's really cool, and the green bezel under certain light, it's a really nice. It's a really nice green, actually. So there you go. That's the pieces. That's what I came up with. So I sort of just wanted to put those out there and sort of have this on the records as pieces that you should go and try on. If you haven't tried them, you might not consider these pieces at all. Just go and try them. Yeah, maybe you might not like it, but maybe you'll be like, oh yeah, that's a cool piece. So that was the 3 watch 20K challenge. No Rolex or Omega. So I've got Phil. Would still take a dressier Zenith 35 Classic. Yep. Yep. Yeah, cool. I just, my And that's a fair comment. That's a fair comment. My thing is, for me personally, I love chronographs, so I had to have a chronograph in there um, at some at some stage. And like I was saying before, I wanted to keep these. My sort of view on pieces is to have a little bit of a left of field type of collection. So that was part of the underlying um, theme with these watches, I guess. But yeah, the Zenith Defy Classic, that's a cool piece, particularly the skeleton version. I really like the skeleton, and I was close to pulling the trigger on the skeleton actually, but I tried it on and it just didn't work on my wrist. The back side of the watch is pretty flat, and it just didn't work. Didn't agree with my wrists, that watch. So I didn't get that one. So that's that. All right. Now, what else we got? Let's talk about this guy here. The other thing I wanted to talk about was this guy here. So the Batgirl, really cool watch. I've been wearing this one. I wouldn't say every day, but I've been wearing it a lot over the last 6 months. So I picked it up in it's probably longer than 6 months. It was about September, end of September last year. So the watch, the watch, really cool. My hot take is that this is the ultimate one watch collection from Rolex. Okay, that's sort of what I've come to think. It's because it's super versatile, and the bracelet. This watch on the Jubilee bracelet. Sorry, my camera's pretty shit. It just dresses it up a bit, so you can get away with this one better in more formal stuff like a suit or a suit jacket or something like that. But you could easily still dress it down. You could, wear it with jeans and a t-shirt or whatever. Now everyone's going to say, "Hey JCB, you're on crack, man. The Rolex Explorer, that's the one watch collection from Rolex." And I've got a couple of things to say about the Explorer. Firstly, well, in my opinion anyway, okay, the Explorer is a nice watch. It's a great watch. Um, the Explorer, but the thing with the Explorer is I just find it boring. I find that it doesn't have enough visually going on for me to keep coming back to it, for me to look down at it. If I had it for 6 months, I'd probably just, after the 6 months, I'd probably just go, "Ah, man, this watch is boring," and I just want to flip it or something, right? But this one here, I think it's got a lot going on visually. Obviously, it's a four-hander with date. It's got the Cyclops. It's got the cool little bits of color. The bracelet is really dynamic. It sort of, has some pops of shine and light coming off it. So I think this one sort of walks that fine line between being conservative looking and also being really interesting looking as well. It sort of just treads that middle line. So it's not super out there, but at the same time, it's not boring as well. So I think it's so in that from that point of view, I think it's got the edge over the Explorer. The second point is, I think if you're going to get a Rolex and one Rolex, if you can, most people these days these things are just fucking hard to get, right? Rolex generally, but if you can get one, if you save up the pennies, and we'll talk about price a bit later, I think you should get a Rolex with a bezel. Okay, like that's the like a sports model. You should get either a sub or a GMT, because they're the sort of like that's the iconic. This is the iconic Rolex sports watch look. Um, a watch with a bezel, Mercedes hands, um, and ideally with a Cyclops. So I think it would be the two watches would be Submariner Date or this one. Um, that they sort of would be the two, or will be Submariner and GMT. They're the sort of two Rolex families that you'd be looking at, and in out of those, you could go with a sub. I would probably go with a sub Date or you could go in the GMT. Take your pick. Really, you got Pepsi, you got Batman, Batgirl, you got the Pepsi on the Jubilee, you got the Pepsi on the Oyster, plus the root beer. Um, so you got the sort of those two families. I think the reason why I would give the nod to this one over the the sub is really comes down to the bracelet, I think. So obviously the Jubilee bracelet again, it makes a big deal for me anyway. In my opinion, it just sort of dresses up the watch a little bit. Um, So that's that. You could, I mean, there's nothing wrong with a sub date, obviously, or even just a normal sub. There's totally nothing wrong with that. You could wear that. That's a perfect. That's another cool one watch from Rolex. No problem about that. Just my preference is this one for the bracelet, but also the color as well. You're getting that pop of color again, makes it interesting. The GMT function versus diver function. So this one gives you an I guess it's an extra function. Hey Russell, good to see you too, buddy. So you get obviously you're getting the additional function of having a GMT hand with the GMT bezel. So I just that's an extra thing for me. I don't really dive. I do use my divers though. I do use the timing bezel a lot. Like if I'm cooking or if I'm mainly cooking actually, or if I've got like parked and I'm timing my parking somewhere, I do that. But I tend to the decision for the GMT was based on the look. I mean, look aesthetically, this watch is just it just kicks ass, man. It's so cool. When you put this on, you strap this on your wrist, it just looks great. And plus, the GMT function for me is really handy because I've been doing a lot of work with the UK over the last probably the last 12 to 24 months. I've been doing a few more deals with the UK and UK lawyers. So it helps just to be able to track UK time at a glance. So that's was a sort of another reason why I went with this one. So um, that's sort of my hot take on the watch. Now, for all its benefits, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect watch. I think the size they should bump it up to 41. That would be my preference. Um, it's fine being a 40, but I think if they made it 41, like, and I'm talking a true 41, not like a Submariner's 40.5 or whatever it is. If they made it a 41, I think it would be fantastic. Just give you that little bit extra size on the wrist. I reckon would be cool. And the other thing I reckon is the clasp. They really need to do a glide lock or whatever it is, like a more of an adjustable um, clasp. But that's the thing. I reckon. I reckon when we see the new GMT, I reckon it'll be those two things that they'll change. That's just my gut feeling, based on wearing the watch now. I reckon when we see the new one, whenever that is, I reckon we'll go to 41. And will it be a true 41? That's the question, because we know that the Submariner 41 is actually a 40.5. Like it went from, I think it was 40.2 to 40.5, which is nothing really. But I think with the sub, they thinned it just ever so slightly. So it probably proportionally feels a bit like flatter or whatever. But I think if they made this 41, that would be cool. Yeah, and having an adjustable clasp. This has the Easy Link extension, which I don't really use that much. I've set this up so that is a tiny bit loose, just a little bit loose, so that if my wrist expands, if it's hot or whatever, I'll just have a snug fit. But then in the normally or normal temperature, it's just a tiny bit loose. I prefer it that way. Um, I find with the Easy Link extension, when you put it when you put it on the Easy Link, it gives you about 5 mil extra, and it moves the clasp around a little bit, or like it alters the length of the two sides of the bracelet in a funny way, so it doesn't quite sit sit well. if that makes sense. It does. It's not the ideal solution to the problem. I think what they need to do is just put that glide lock on. It's what we're coming to expect from not only Rolex, but most other luxury brands now. I mean, heck, even my bloody Zelos, my Zelos over here has a adjustable clasp that you can adjust on the fly. That thing costs like $500 or whatever. So yeah, that's right, flipping. Yeah, the 5 mil. It's too much. Yeah, that's right. So it sort of just puts the movement of it moves the like it messes with the geometry of the bracelet, and the clasp relative to how it goes on your wrist a little bit too much. So that would be they're my two sort of minor gripes. I think that yeah, the clasp thing's not really a minor gripe. It's a pretty fair gripe these days, I reckon. When the sub has the adjustable clasp. We're seeing it now in Amiga. They're putting the clasp on, like some of the Speedies and that's and the it's on the Seamaster Professional. So yeah, I reckon when the new GMT drops, we'll see those two changes. What else? I don't think they'll do anything else. The movement's really good. 70-hour reserve is really accurate. No issues with the movement at all. Really, really nice one. Um, Everything else is done really well. Let's talk about availability. Like, see, this is the problem with the watches. You can't buy it, man. You can't, even if I'm talking about it like, yeah, it's a great watch, but the reality is you just can't buy it, right? So what's the point? Like, what? It's sort of like we're talking in a vacuum. It's like a sort of a redundant conversation in a way. Um, I was trying to think of who I know has got one at retail. Not many people. No, I don't think I could probably count them off the top of on one hand. Um, so the market. Let's talk about the market. So you cannot buy it. The price at the moment is just. I think it's too much. The grey market or the secondary price. It's just it's not worth it. Even at the price I bought it, which was I bought it as September last year. So before all the craziness, um, I bought it for like low 20s, and then so this is Aussie. This is Aussie, right? Aussie dollars. So in USD, I don't know what that is. Someone do the numbers. So low 20s, but I bought it. I've got a friend who's a grey dealer, so he gave me a couple of grand off the market price. So even at that price, let's just say the market price was 25K Australian. Like, even that's too much for the watch. I'm going to sort of go one step further and say even the retail price for the watch itself is sort of pushing it. In Australia, it's around about 14 grand Aussie, and like that's at the upper end of what you should be paying, I reckon. Like, even when it like because as I said, it doesn't have the clasp. It's sort of, I mean, it's good. It's a good watch. The value to me, it's more like a 10,000 Aussie, sort of 10 to 12 is sort of where it should be. Um, 14 grand Aussie's pretty. But that's already at the high end, right? The retail price is pretty high, and then you go to the grey market, right? Before the craziness, let's just say it was mid 25s. Even that's expensive. Like, I had I totally bought the watch with my heart and not my head. I wasn't thinking with my head. I wanted the watch, and I happened to have the cash sitting there. So and I thought it would go up a little bit, right? I thought, okay, so I'm buying it under market. If it's mid 20s, I thought, okay, it'll go to high 20s, and so I wouldn't lose any money. So that's how I could justify spending that much. I was like, okay, well, I'll have a watch that's worth more than what I pay for it, right? So that was my justification. And then, as we all know, the market for Rolex just went absolutely crazy in sort of February, March. Yeah, February, March. I was watching the price of this thing going up. Like it was going up like hundreds every day. Like it was going crazy. So it went from um, let's say like mid to high 20s Aussie. Let's just say I think before the craziness. So this is, yeah, say February, just before it went nuts. It was high 20s. Let's say 27 at the peak of the market. Um, around maybe end of March, something like that. It was 37K Aussie. That's what I was seeing them listed for. Now, whether they were selling for that much is another matter, but it jumped 10K in the space of 2 months or something. Not even. So it was absolutely, like, I was watching it going. I was happy on one hand, but at the same time, I was like, "What the fuck's going on here? This is crazy. Like, this is just like it's not." I couldn't understand what was happening, and I still don't. Um, and so now what we've seen is the market really, across the board, retracting from those crazy heights that they were at. Yeah, so we're gone. I think now you can, for this, you'd be looking in the range of about 32, like 30, let's say 31 to 33 is the sort of current market. So it went from sort of high 20s, so let's say 27 to 37, and now sort of come down into the middle of that. We're looking at about 31 to 32 sort of ish. So if you want the watch, that's what you got to pay. Okay, that's sort of where I'm going. It's sort of high 30s Aussie. I mean, that's mental for this watch. I mean, I don't know who's can, like, you've just got to have a shit ton of money basically just sitting there and really just want the watch. Like that's all there is to it. That's the only way you'll get it. And even then, I mean, do you spend that money on that watch, or do you go to that three watch collection that I pulled up before, and get those? Like, maybe this is in pound, but I'm just doing the numbers in Aussie. 30, let's say 33. Yeah, you could get these three watches for that much. So you can get a three. This is where the whole value equation comes in, right? Do you spend the money on a Rolex, you know, just to have the Rolex, or whatever, or do you sort of shop more wisely, with your head rather than your heart, and get your you can add you could add a 3 or 4 piece collection to your stable for the same sort of dollars. So I guess that's my thinking. That's what I just sort of, I guess I wanted to leave you guys with that thought, um, on the market, on Rolex generally. It's just gotten crazy, right? I don't know. I certainly wouldn't be spending that much on the piece. Um, I'm not sure if it'll if the market will come back any further. I've got a feeling it will drop a little bit more, but not much. It's not going to go much more from here. I think dealers have too much money tied up in these watches to let them slip for for much more than what they are now. So we'll probably see, the market drop just a little bit, I think. And then, yeah, it'll be like, how do you get the watch then? You know, silly times we live in. What do we got? OP41 is even crazier, and it wears like 100%. Like, that's the crazy one for me. 100% agree, Philip. Yeah, obviously the turquoise, the Tiffany piece. Everyone goes crazy. I haven't checked on the market of those, but the last time I did, it was absolutely crazy. I think, can I say, nearly 3 to 4 times retail for that one. And the dial itself, when I tried it on, it just did nothing for me. That one, the bright blue OP. Now that's a different story. That's a really nice watch. I really like that one. But and that's one of the ones that's trading at the lowest, I believe. So if you get the chance to have a look at the OPs, have a look at that bright blue one. That's really nice. It's good. That's a good piece. What else? What has been happening before I leave it there? Any other questions, comments? Feel free. What else has taken? Oh, the other watch. A watch that's really crept up on me is the Speedy, the 3861 Speedy. I think that's a really cool watch. I never got into Speedies before. Um, Probably because my dad's got a Speedy. So in the back of my head, I was I've sort of always been thinking that one day I'll get the Speedy. It'll pass down. So it's always just been in the back of my mind. Like, just don't think about Speedies because there's one there. But um, the 3861 Speedy, I put that on the other day, and I was like, "Whoa, that's a nice piece, a really nice piece." They've done the bracelet really well. The watch feels like it's solid. Really feels really solid. Um, so let me bear with me for one sec. I'll get up some photos of some stuff that I tried on. Let's have a look. What do we got? Give me one sec. Google Photos. Got some photos. So the Speedy, I reckon that'll probably be the next watch that I get eventually. I love my chronographs, so I think I'll add one. Even though I don't want to. Hopefully my dad stays around for a long, long time, so I don't want to talk about getting his Speedy. So I think I'll just get one myself. Um, let's have a look. Let's have. What I want to talk about is these guys here. And I'll pull up the picture in a sec. So I went and looked at the new Navitimer. Has anyone looked at? Hey, Jason. Good to see you, man. Yeah, I know, man. And the stupid thing is that even other Tiffany dials in other brands have gone mental. Like there's some Coronos. I think they had a Tiffany. Um, there's like the Doxa Tiffany, which has got a freaking wait list. Like, what the fuck is wrong with people? And like Tiffany, who gives a shit, man? Man, makes me angry. The Polaris Date in green. No, I haven't seen that one, Phil. Haven't seen that one. I'll have a look at it next time I'm down at the ADs. But I went to have a look at the Navitimers. Yeah, it's a fad, 100%. So the Navitimer. Let's talk about Navitimer. So we've got, sorry, the quality of my uploads to Google Photos is not that good. So this is the new B01 43 mil Navitimer. They've redone the watch. Okay, here we go. So this is just the standard black dial Navitimer. And obviously, being a chrono fan, it's something that I've always toyed with the idea of getting one. And now that they brought the new one out, I was thinking, far out, they've done some really cool stuff to it. And I thought I better get down there and try it on. So, um, one of the complaints about the Navitimer has always been the fully polished bracelet. So they've done away with that, and they've put some brushing onto the bracelet. So it's actually now it's brushed on the outer and on these ones as well. So it's alternating brush and polish bracelets. So that's a pretty cool thing. Um, but I think the other thing is they've slimmed down the size a little bit, so the case is a little bit thinner. They've sort of reworked the subdial, so they sort of stepped down a bit. They've moved the date into the 6 o'clock position, and one of the big changes was going back to the original Breitling Navitimer um, logo, which is actually not a Breitling logo. It's a logo of the AOPA, which is the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association of America. AOPA, bit of a mouthful, but this is the original logo that was on the Navitimer when it dropped on the 806 back in the 50s, or whenever they released the first Navitimer. So they've gone back to that. So I think overall the watch, it's really cool. It's really cool, but I just feel like the quality of the pieces has dropped a little bit. So when you pick up like the new Breitlings compared to the old Breitlings, and when I say old, I'm talking before Breitling was purchased by private equity. You guys might know that probably 5 years ago, the Schneider family, I think it was the sort of the family owner of Breitling, and they sold out to private equity, like a private equity firm, for something ridiculous, like it was about $1 billion or something, the 900 million or something like that. And since that time, obviously, George Kern has come into the helm as CEO, and he's done a lot of things in terms of expanding the product line out and tweaking things here and there. And so I think as a consequence of that, increased in the sort of the increase in the products in the catalog, I think overall the quality of the pieces has dropped a little bit compared to like Schneider era Breitling. They're not. I'm not saying they're bad quality. I'm just saying that there's a noticeable difference. At least for me, pretty minor. It's a pretty minor difference, but you can still feel it. And like, to illustrate the point, on this particular piece here, this one, the silver dial one, I ran the chronograph, and the second hand, when you'd stop it, it would actually jump back about half a second, which is not cool for a sort of roughly a 12,000 Aussie watch. These are expensive machines, right? Um, that sort of got, yeah, maybe it was a dud or whatever, but there you go. It's like a QC thing, like the one in the showroom that I actually had it on my wrist had a bit of a fault with it. So um, yeah, I think the QC of the watches, that's sort of my hot take on Breitling at the moment. I think that their quality has dropped a little bit, but they're giving, like, the look of the products is probably a bit better than what it used to be. Man, look at that. I mean, that's a pretty sick looking piece, that one, the silver dial. Really nice. Um, that's a see the watches there for comparison. So yeah, that was the Breitling. So I tried those on. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about those. And then, so once I got from there, I went to try on this guy here, and I could just feel the quality um, of the piece was just so much better. The This watch here, you could feel the weight and the finishing. Was just, yeah, it was a couple of notches up. It just felt really good on the wrist. This watch here, I think, as I was saying before, yeah, I think it's probably going to be my next watch. It's just a really cool piece. The new Speedy, the bracelet's done really well. The taper down to the clasp is really nice. I've heard that a good upgrade actually is to get the chronoscope clasp and put that onto this, because the chronoscope clasp is adjustable. So there's another tip for you guys. If you're going to go order one, order a clasp swap over to the chronoscope Clasp, because that's an adjustable one and it fits this watch obviously. So yeah, this watch, the feel on the wrist was fantastic. Looks great, and again, like similar to the Breitling, they've done the sub dials nice and deep. Now they sort of dish down deep into the dial, which gives the dial some nice depth. Um, so it's just another cool little um, touch that they've done, which that little incremental change just adds a lot to the dial, I think. So this is the sapphire sandwich that I was looking at. This is so it's got obviously the sapphire front crystal and the sapphire see-through case back. Um, yeah, so you want I feel like with the how's that for a two watch collection? Look at that. Speedy and a GMT. Like what more do you need than those two? You're set. Um, so yeah, maybe chuck a diver in, put the Glashütte CQ in, and then you're done. Um, yeah, I think with the movement, it's nice to see the movement on the Speedy. It's actually quite a nice movement. The finishing is done really quite well. So I would go for the Sapphire. The Sapphire also gives you the benefit of the Sapphire is there's some little touches like you can see here on the bracelet. It's got these the polished links on the inner part of the bracelet. That's been on Speedies for forever. I think having a polished these polished bits, but on the new 3861 on the Hesselite version, it's fully brushed. Um, so just this one just gives you that little bit more of a dressy vibe when you see it. It's pretty cool. This one, all these little things together on the Sapphire just make it work really nicely. So that would be my pick over um, the Hesselite version. Yeah, man, two-piece collections. That's really it. That's where it's at. Like my two-piece collection at the moment, really, my core two pieces. We'll do a little bit of a state of the collection. So these guys here, these are it really. So I've got a sports watch, and this is the what am I doing? Wrong one. This is the Zenith El Primero. This is the one I sort of wear with a suit. I'll wear it at work. Just a black dial chronograph, nice and thin. So this is just a two-piece collection that these get me through all of the all of the scenarios that I generally have in my life. Plus so those two. So that's sort of my two-piece collection. If I could have it, so that's two-piece, and then your three-piece collection. Add in another chronograph, just for fun. This is like um, my X Factor sort of watch. Fucking love this thing. Really cool watch. Breitling Transocean chronograph. That's it. So 3 watch and then 4 watch collection. Throw in a few beaters. So I've got a Zelos. This is a Zelos black tip with the teal dial. This is one of my beaters. Really cool. Another one. Casio I'm wearing today. Man, this is so much fun. Look at that, man. How cool does this thing look? Sick watch, man. Best $300 you could ever spend doing the mod on the Casio. Just love that thing. I've got my other beater. I might move this one on. I don't really wear it too much. This is a Glycine Combat Sub, black with a blue dial. I mean, it's cool, but with my other watches, I don't really sort of tend to wear that one much these days. So that's it. I don't really have much more than that. I like keeping it chilled. Just really, I reckon nice watches. You probably need 2 or 3 nice ones. That sort of gets you by most things that you need, most occasions in your life, and then you can have as many beaters as you want. If they cost you a few $100s, what's the big deal? You can have 2 or 3 of those as well. So what total you might be looking at, say 5, 6, 7 maybe watches. I mean, who needs I mean, that's sort of what I would say is like enough watches. Sure, if you've got tons of cash, you can go and buy more, but who has tons of cash, right? Not many of us. Um, so Flip. I've got to see more of that Casio. I've got one for the wife that she's never worn. I should do something with it. Yeah, do it, man. So this one here, dude. It's which way? So this has got the Gen 3 mod kit. So it's just the standard GA 2100 with the obviously just the super standard one with the white or white markers. And then I just got the Gen 3 mod kit in black because I love my ceramic AP. So I thought, okay, I've got to do it on the cheap, and this is this is how I'm gonna do it. But you know, it's cool, man. Look at the bracelet. It's fantastic. Now I believe there's Gen 4 ones. Um, Jason might have. Jason might know about those. Jace, if you know if there's a Gen 4 one, just chime in. But yeah, just go on AliExpress, bro. AliExpress, and you can get it sent to you in it'll come to you in a week, the kit, and USD. Or I think you're in Canada, so I think you'd be looking at. I think Canadian and Australian is roughly the same. So this was about like a hundred bucks, $110 from memory, something like that. Not much. So the watch was about So the watch was at 180, and the bracelet mod kit was around about 115, I think. So all up, it was under $300 Aussie. So that's why I always say it's the best $300 you can ever spend, and it's just fun, cool way of messing around with the G Shock. It's just a cool piece of that. Very cool. All right, fellas, I might leave it there. It's been a pleasure. Good to see you guys again. I might, do the occasional live here and there. But yeah, I'm just super busy at the moment. So yeah, again, just with the house and kids and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, just sort of taken a bit of a backseat with watches and that sort of stuff for a while, and just enjoying the pieces that I've got. I think I'll probably start plotting for that Speedy in the next year or two, something like that. I'm in no rush. I've got a pretty good solid collection. I think the Speedy's just icing on the cake. I reckon it's just more being greedy. I think so. Anyway, yeah. Likewise. All right, fellas. I'll leave it there, and I'll check you on the next one later.